What's up? What's up, everybody? Hello, hello, hello. Do not touch that dial. Do not change the station. You are right where you are supposed to be. You are tuned into the Tommy Talk Show. And you know how we do. I'm sending you mad love and dope vibes. Can you feel that music? I know you smiling. I see it. I see it. Grinning ear to ear, grinning ear to ear. It feels good. Go and move with it. Go ahead and move with it. It's all right. It's all right. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here with us on the Tommy Talk Show. We have an amazing, amazing show in store for you today. As you know, as your host, TW Suggs, I like to have theme-based shows to provide the community with insight, perspective, and as many resources as possible. And one of the ways we're doing that today is we're having a conversation around honoring and supporting our veterans. And I could not have this conversation without having veterans around the table. So I have with me Tom Wagner, and I have with me Carston Warner. And I want to get into their bios and their introduction so you can hear all the awesomeness that they're involved in. But before we do that, you know how we do. We're going to hop right into the community question. But instead of a question, I charge the community with sharing some encouragement for a veteran who may be in your life, or if you wanted to give a shout out to a veteran, right? So I'm going to read what some of you shared with me. So I have Kyle _Ian 30 on Instagram. He shared, please advocate for yourself and your benefits. If it is too daunting, please lean on your elected officials, especially the ones who champion veterans. That's amazing. For it's also it's so important for vulnerable populations and people who need support to self-advocate, to make sure that you're getting the support that you need. I have Emily Wiggins Kosum. That's my sis. I love you, Emily. She said, take it one day at a time. You have seen and heard things that may be hard for you to erase, and you may feel alone, but the community is here to support you. You can overcome with support. Thank you for your service. Wow, that was absolutely beautiful and wonderfully said. And we're actually going to get into some of the stories that that veterans and some of the experiences that veterans experience that we may not be aware of, or anything that we may know. So this is going to be an awesome time for us. And then I have Gaskins Robin from Facebook, who says, so many vets are homeless. I pray that the Lord will help them to and some of them to help them put down the drugs and lift their heads to the Lord. Thank you so much, Gaskins Robbins, for that encouraging word. We truly appreciate it. So again, like I mentioned before, that one of the things that we're discussing today, or what we're discussing today, is honoring and supporting our veterans. We wanted to first of all say honoring, because right now in today's world, our veterans are not honored, nor are they supported the way that they're supposed to be, with the sacrifice, the service that they've provided, with the things they've laid on the line, with putting themselves last to put the country, their families, and people that they don't even know first and foremost ahead of themselves. We need to honor them. But at the same time, there's things that veterans may be experiencing, things that they may be going through, that we as civilians who've never did anything in the service, we may not know. So we want to have that conversation to better support our veterans and to hear from veterans as well. All right. And I have to give a shout out to the veteran who is closest to my heart, my mama, Sherry Barfield, celebrating and supporting you, Mom. I appreciate you and I love you. There is something that you said that I'm going to ask Tom and Carston later to see if they agree, and they probably really will, but we'll see. All right, don't touch that dial. We'll be right back for introductions and to hop even deeper into our show. All right. So you're still here with us, where we are discussing, honoring, and supporting our veterans. And as I said before, with me, I have Carston Warner and Tom Wagner, who will be walking us through some of the resources, supports, and the perspective that many veterans have that we may not have, which will help us better support, guide, not even guide, but really support and get under their arms and lift them up to keep them moving forward. All right, so listen, We read the community questions. We are getting ready to hop into the intro. So listen, I want to introduce you to Carston Warner. And Carston Warner is the gentleman that is sitting to my right. All right. And Carston Warner is a member of the Vietnam Veterans Association and Disabled Veterans Organization. He was born and raised in Virginia and relocated to Philadelphia. He was drafted and completed a tour in Vietnam, which was an experience that left an indelible mark on his life. Utilizing GI benefits, he enrolled in the Community College of Philadelphia, CCP, shout out, followed by Mansfield University and Southern Illinois University, where he delved into the realms of education, English, psychology, and theater. I love theater. His career path led him to spend 2 decades dedicated to assisting individuals grappling with mental health and developmental disabilities, a calling that found him working with the Healing Ajax program of resources for human development. You'll hear more about Healing Ajax. He undertook the responsibility of training fellow veterans, helping them navigate the tumultuous waters of post-traumatic stress through the application of cognitive coping skills. Combining his love for art, education, spoken word, he discovered solace in journaling. This pursuit culminated in the publication of his book, Traveling Through Time. And ladies and gentlemen, we will be hearing some excerpts from Traveling Through Time today. A poetic anthology that captures his experiences growing up in the South during the Civil Rights era, the challenges of returning home from Vietnam, and the profound impact of being diagnosed with PTSD. All right, and to my left, I have the one and the only Tom Wagner. Yes, sir. Tom Wagner is the director of resources of the Resource for Human Development's Philly ACT program and has been since 2022. Prior to that, he was the director of RHG's Healing Ajax program, which was a veterans treatment unit. The program took an innovative approach in that all involved were veterans as well, using a peer-to-peer methodology. In addition, he is the co-author of the Veteran Male Trauma Recovery and Empowerment Model Treatment Manual. Oh, we're going to hear more about that too, y'all. All right, Tom is an Army veteran and served 4 years of active duty as an infantry paratrooper and an additional 3 years in the New Jersey National Guard. He received his bachelor's degree in psychology from Rutgers University and his master's degree in clinical mental health counseling from Rowan University. In his free time, Tom enjoys fishing, camping, and woodworking. Gentlemen, welcome to the Tommy Talk Show.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Absolutely. How are you both feeling?
Doing good.
Very well.
Doing good?
Yeah, getting to see some old friends here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And for those of you who are watching, these two are buddies. You heard Healing Ajax in his bio. You heard Healing Ajax in his bio. They're good buddies and have a long line of history. So listen, before I go any further, thank you both so much for your service.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Like I said in the opener, you all put so much out there on the line, sacrifice so much, and to still be here to tell the story, that speaks volumes. So thank you both so much. Before we get even deeper into our conversation, because I have like a list of questions that I'm going to share with these gentlemen, that I'm going to ask these gentlemen. We're going to open up with a piece from Carston Warner's book. Carston, can you share with us what the name of it is?
Yeah, the name of the book is called Traveling Through Time. If you're interested in getting it, you can get it at Barnes & Nobles, or you can get it through Amazon. So it's a collection of poetry. My experiences, I started writing in Vietnam, and I continued and met some good people and ended up going to school and crafted this into a book.
Nice.
So it's a series of different poems. Some of them are a narrative, some of them are philosophical things, and some of them are just food for thought.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of different things. But what I discovered in writing all these things was I was really journaling, but this journaling stuff through my education turned into poetry.
Nice.
And so the beauty of it is it's not all a down thing. It's an up and down. The same thing about PTSD when you're dealing with it. You're up sometimes, you're down sometimes.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing was capturing all of those transitions in my life, when I'm up, when I'm down, and sometimes when I'm just being mellow.
Yes, sir.
So this book covers all of those things. And if you want something funny stuff, some love stuff, it's a little bit of everything. So it touches everyone's heart.
Excellent.
And I'm really pleased to be here to share this moment.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. What's this piece that you have for us?
The piece that I have is called "A Soldier in Vietnam."
Okay.
So, if it's okay, I'll
Yes,
read
sir.
it.
Absolutely.
I think of Vietnam day and night. God only knows how many GIs lost their life.
Mm,
They fight by day, they fight by night, not knowing who's next to lose their life.
mm,
Dreams of peace enter their minds whenever they get some priceless time. Sometimes they pray when the going gets rough. They can't wait for an answer. They have to prove they're tough.
mm,
Boom, boom, boom. Rockets explode all around. I cover my head up, pretend I'm dead. I open my eyes and come back alive.
mm,
My buddy has gone to the heavens above. I hope he finds peace, most of all, love.
mm.
Sometimes I think he's more fortunate than I. He has gone home to rest. I'm still a GI. I'm tired of fighting this never ending war. I don't even know what I'm fighting for. My minister told me when I was a boy, "Thou shalt not kill." This
Mm.
gun isn't a toy. Help me, Father, to obey your law. Help me understand what I'm fighting for. If I lay my gun aside, will you be my saving God? Take
Mm.
me to heaven so that I can forget all the things I've seen and which someday I'll regret. The soldier laid his gun aside and walked into the midst of the eerie morning silence. In the distance, you could hear an automatic weapon's rapid fire. A stiff, still quietness came over the battlefield. A slight breeze brushed past me, and I could still hear the voice of the GI praying, "Thank you, Father, for answering my prayer. The pains in my mind I could no longer bear." I am more fortunate than a lot of GIs who return home to leave troubled lives.
Wow.
Moving.
Yeah. Wow. That was very loaded. And thank you for your transparency
You're welcome.
and sharing that. Um, let me ask you all a question. Let me ask you both a question. This is open to so um just hearing that, whether you were on a battlefield or not, but just hearing that, it sounds like for veterans, there's a lot to unpack.
Absolutely.
So what was that journey for both of you to unpack and go through some of your own layers before you even help anybody else out? What was that journey like for you?
But for me, I think it was difficult.
Okay.
Going into the service, it's a life-changing experience.
Yeah.
You're never going to be that same person again when you
Yeah.
went in. And it's kind of odd, you know. One day I'm Sergeant Wagner,
Hmm.
and literally the day after I'm just Tom again.
Wow.
And it's, I was in a position where I was respected, and
Yeah.
and then just come home and I'm another guy on the block.
Yeah.
And kind of getting to grips with that was
Yeah.
difficult. I first came home, and I still kind of went on about like I was still in,
Okay.
getting up, running every morning, doing push-ups every morning.
Mm.
I think what really helped me out more than anything else, and I'm glad I did what I did,
Mhm.
was I got discharged from the service in July and I started college right
Okay.
that following September.
Okay.
And I think being around quote unquote regular folk really helped with my transition,
Okay.
and really started to change my attitude back to what somebody might say normalcy.
Yeah.
Even though that stuff from the service, it's always there.
Yeah.
It's never going to go.
Yeah.
But figuring out how to integrate that stuff,
Okay. Okay.
that's what really counts. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I know my experience is probably a lot different from Carston's coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Carson? Was that a difficult transition?
Yeah, yeah. It was very complicated for me. One, it was during a draft era,
Okay.
so I didn't volunteer for any of this.
Wow.
And I got drafted, and a lot of my high school friends, when you graduated from high school, this was back in '67.
Mhm.
You got your high school diploma in one hand and draft notice in the other hand.
Wow.
So you're like 18, 19, and you're going off, and you don't know a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll skip past the training and all that stuff. But when you return home, we weren't welcome. we weren't even it wasn't even considered a war until later. It was considered a campaign. So we
Wow.
weren't even entitled to get some of the benefits that other veterans were getting.
Wow.
Also, we weren't allowed to join like some of the American Legion, other war organizations like
Mhm.
Disabled Veterans, or because we weren't war veterans. We
Yeah.
were campaign veterans.
Wow.
Unfortunately, organizations like um, the DOV and American Legion, they went to Congress and they passed laws, and eventually they said, okay, these guys are they're war and a war.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of disrespect. Wasn't able to find a job. Some of us was classed as baby killers, all those. So
Hmm.
a lot of times when I came home on furlough, I wasn't allowed to wear my uniform because they were protesting against us.
Wow.
So it was a very difficult thing. So when I finally thought I had myself together,
Mhm.
and I went to, I met a person, finally got a job. I was making enough money to buy some clothes to go to work. And that was about it.
Yeah.
So I met a lady who said, you should go to school. Like I showed her one or two of my poems. She said, you should go to school.
Hmm.
And fortunately, I did go to school, and my bio will tell you all about that. And I kept meeting people, and I ended up Southern Illinois University. I taught in school, taught in college,
Hmm.
and so I think I'm all right.
Yeah.
I don't have no PTSD. I don't have none of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so for 40 years, I never dealt with it. I mean, I had an injury where I could have filed for a claim way back, but I'm like, I don't need that. I'm good. I got an education.
Yeah.
I'm meeting folks, got an education. Unfortunately, I ran into Tom and his organization called Healing Ajax.
Mhm.
And they asked me they were setting up a program for some Vietnam veterans out in Bucks County, but they wouldn't talk to Tom's group unless there was a Vietnam vet there.
Mhm.
And the Vietnam vets, we have that kind of camaraderie, for what we experienced.
Yeah.
So Tom and either Tom or I can't remember. I think it was Tom asked me if I would sit in with the group because they won't talk to him unless a Vietnam vet. So I sat in with them, and they decided they would start this program in Bucks County.
Mhm.
So after that, they actually said, "You want to be trained to help vets?" I said, "I don't know if I really want to do that." So we'll get you some training, and you can help the vets.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna skip forward. So we ended up with the program working at the prison system,
Mhm.
CFCF, we call it, one of the prison systems. So I'm listening to these vets, and we're doing group therapy, cognitive therapy with these guys, and I'm listening to these guys, and they're saying how they can't sleep,
Mhm.
the dreams they're having,
Mhm.
a lot of things that they were running into, unable to talk to people, all those things. So as I'm listening to them, and I'm trying to train them to use cognitive therapy, I'm saying to myself, "Oh, I do that.
Mm.
Wow, I do that too."
Wow.
So I talked to one of the guys. I said, "Look, I got an injury when I was in the military. Can you help me get some help with it?"
Mhm.
And this guy was really in tune to helping veterans. He said, "Yeah." So he helped me with my claims and stuff. And he said, "Do you?" So when I filled out for the form for my physical claim with me, he said, "You're not going to file for PTSD?" I said, "I don't have no PTSD."
Wow.
So he said, "So we're going to put this down, and they'll evaluate you and they'll let you know whether or not you have that, and a couple other things they put down and so forth and so on." So behold, once I got my evaluation and stuff, I had PTSD.
Wow.
So moving forward, now I have all the help.
Okay.
I got therapists and other people that help me, psychologists, other people, so
Yeah.
forth, help me out. And one of the ways I got to writing my book from the support systems that I received from the VA,
Mhm.
from the Vet Center, from other organizations and people that supported me, and of course my family. Um, so with this, now I've been trying to move my book because
Yeah.
it tells a lot of different stories, not just about my journey from Vietnam. It's about my journey from life.
Yeah.
I've been married over 40 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
And I have 3 kids, and they're very supportive of them. But
Yeah.
I'm still finding out that I'm still getting to know my siblings. I
Yeah.
have siblings. I didn't communicate with them. I'm getting back to them. And the most important thing, I'm going to let Tom talk because I might get in trouble talking too much. But the most important thing, I've learned to tell my siblings and others in my life that I love them. And sometimes it's hard them being reciprocal because I know I didn't share myself with them. So it's hard for them to understand where I'm coming from with this, but
Yeah.
it's because they're family. I didn't know my family. I'm just without the support that I received, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you now,
Yeah.
and this whole trust thing and all that. And I'm still working through trust. I'm still working through things, and people are still helping it, and I feel that I'm blessed to get the support that I'm getting. So,
That's amazing. First of all, thank you for sharing that, because most people wouldn't be honest about, well, a battle with PTSD,
mhm.
or the supports that was necessary to help navigate that process or that healing process. So we hear a lot about PTSD. So what is PTSD and how does it show up?
Right. So post-traumatic stress disorder. It's if you look under what's called the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of, basically the book that helps you diagnose mental health disorders, it actually falls under an anxiety disorder. But it
Wow.
manifests itself in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
A lot of things that Carston had mentioned.
Yeah.
Mood swings, difficulty sleeping. One thing that you see, excuse me, one thing that you see with a lot of people who suffer from it is self-medication.
Okay.
And a lot of that goes back to, drug use, alcohol use, just to kind of, help with the symptoms.
Yeah.
I worked with one individual who had a struggle with alcohol.
Yeah.
His thing was it kept him from dreaming, kept him
Okay.
from having nightmares.
Wow.
It's things like that. So
Yeah.
it manifests itself in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
The difficult part is when you're looking at how to treat it,
Okay.
because it's difficult for the individual who's going through the treatment,
Okay.
in that you need to confront,
Wow.
what happened to you.
Wow.
There's different ways to go about it.
Okay.
But all of it boils down to confronting it
Yes, sir.
and learning how to deal with it.
Okay.
Anytime that I've worked with people along the lines of trauma and PTSD, I tell them right from the beginning, it's not about forgetting what happened to you.
Wow.
It's learning about how to live with
Wow.
what happened to you.
Woo! Pels, you gonna preach that on Sunday, man? That was powerful. That was powerful. And even though that's something that's being taught by way of PTSD or helping people through that healing process, I think that that's something that we all can I'm not a veteran.
Yeah.
I did something called the Civil Air Patrol. It was for kids. They took me on one camping trip. After that, it was a wrap. I said, this is not for me. But even I couldn't start the fire. I got tired of eating out of cans and packs. I couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't change my clothes. Had to sleep on a rock in the sleeping bag. It was too much for me. But that right there, Tom, you hit a nail on the head, that it's not about forgetting, it's about living and still living even after that moment.
Yep.
Is that something that you're finding like a lot of veterans struggling with, is living beyond that moment? And if so, what are some of the things that you all help them do to help them get past that moment that they have to live past?
I'm going to just talk a little bit, and Tom can probably answer
Sure,
the question
sure,
better
sure.
than I can. The thing that kind of brought me to realization is, because you have a degree, a doctorate, and lawyers, and I'm finding that when we did the work with the guys in prison, I'm running into doctors, I'm running into lawyers, I'm running into all types of people.
Wow.
Thinking that, you got your degree and you're successful. I ran into a very successful gentleman. I can't remember his name. I probably couldn't say it if I remember. He was a deacon in the church. His son was a doctor. His daughter was a doctor. And he was very involved in the church, and he didn't even know he had PTSD.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter what level you're on, thinking that, oh, I'm okay, I got this, I'm successful, I go to church every day, and I do this, and I pray, and all that's good.
Yeah.
But you're still dealing with it. And until you get past knowing that, with me, like when I went to school, like, I'm okay, I got a couple degrees, I'm good. But no, you gotta face it. You may want to pick up on that.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't discriminate.
Yeah.
And one of the big things, especially with what we did in the Healing Ajax program, was what we call psychoeducation,
Okay.
educating people about what PTSD is.
Okay. Okay.
Just like Carston said, you know, I'm fine. I ain't got this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but once you start talking about it and putting it out there, you know, you see light bulbs go off in people's heads.
Wow.
And it's like, man, that's me. That's my story.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I think Healing Ajax was such a successful program.
Yeah.
In that it was peer to peer.
Okay.
And, you know, even though Carston's a Vietnam era guy, I'm a Gulf War era guy.
Yeah.
A lot of our stories are the same.
Wow.
A lot of our stories are the same.
Yeah.
Just from the general shared experience of being in the military.
Yeah.
And having that safe place with other folks having that shared experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes people miles along their journey.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for that. I'm going to ask this question, then I want you to share about this.
Yep.
Okay. So a few episodes ago, we talked about toxic masculinity. All right. If anybody is watching, we talked about toxic masculinity and how the standards, the unhealthy expectations, and the unhealthy norms that are not only unhealthy but unrealistic and unnatural, right? Because men are beings too, and we have wonderful, a large capacity for complexity, emotional complexity. But society would say men can't cry, or brush it off, or keep it moving, or, you know, and with the work that you all are doing with the veterans, and even with the work that you all had to do, does that toxic masculinity show up in that healing process that needs as like a barrier?
Carston knows exactly where I'm going with this.
Go ahead.
So when we talk about, and you had brought up the treatment manual.
Yes.
The very first full group therapy session is what we call male messages.
Woo! Woo!
And what that is, it's 10 messages that all men grew up with.
Wow.
And those messages come from a lot of different places.
Wow.
Comes from family, friends, church, television, the media, you name it, you're getting it.
Yeah.
And what we do in that first session is we introduce these 10 myths.
Okay.
And we discuss, are they true or are they not true? Which of these is most true? And I can run down the list real quick.
Yes, please do.
Men are tough and strong and stay cool in the face of danger. Men do not cry no matter what. Men have a lot of sex. Men make and have a lot of money. Men enjoy drinking and can handle their liquor. Men are independent. Men take charge and are in control.
Wow.
Men are competitive and win. Men protect their women and children. One of my favorites here, the last one. Men know more and are stronger than women.
Woo! Woo!
Yeah.
Wow.
Forgot all about those.
Yeah. And this, again, this is the first full session.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of this, you know, it's a 24 session group.
Okay.
And that's the first full one. That's where we kick things off.
Wow. Wow. So because of the indoctrination that's going on by society, that's like one of the first things that you all felt you had to address.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So even in your own journeys, how did you all so before this, so you had to navigate through that perhaps before these 10 messages came about. So how did you both navigate your healing process, even though that barrier of that toxic masculinity was constantly, you know, sounding off really strong?
You know, I think for me, it was just doing what I do for a living.
Okay.
I've spent my entire professional adult life working in the mental health field in some form or another.
Yeah.
And just doing that and helping others.
Gotcha.
I think that's what really pulled me through.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
You know, I think my exposure to the group really kind of enlightened me into all of these things. You're living in them, you're doing them. And even now, you go back and Tom just read that, you know, it kind of stirred some stuff up in me that, you know, And I think that even though you go through that whole training, it's something that society is going to force you into dealing with. And I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time for it, but I do want to put out there that people of color have a more difficult time struggling with that. When you mention therapists and psychology
Yeah.
and PTSD and mental health.
Yeah.
But I remember going to a session with one we held at RHD. We went to a session and the young lady said, yeah, I was ashamed about, having a therapist and a psychologist and all that. And then I remember movie stars have therapists and psychologists.
Come
So
on.
what's wrong with that? so again, we got to overcome that part of that stigma in addition to dealing with all those maleness.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that we have to deal with. I guess for me is the more education I receive, the more help I receive, that sort of catapulted me into getting past these things. Like telling someone you love them. I tell my siblings I love them, especially my brother, and he holds on to it. He's like, well, I love you too.
If you make me say it, I guess I'll say
it. Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm still growing. It's not like, hey, I got it all down and I'm still growing. I'm still getting help. And if it wasn't for the help and the growth that I'm getting, I'd sit here with you guys, man. This is great.
Yeah, it's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah. I mean, that's my best way to answer that.
Wow.
So I'm still growing. And I'm still writing.
Hey, I know that's right. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question here. So what are so for a veteran who's watching right now, or for someone who has a veteran in their life, what are some warning signs that person may need support?
Sure.
May need some help?
I think isolation's a big one.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Number one.
Wow. Okay.
Definitely isolation. Anger.
Okay.
Anger is a big one. It's interesting. One of the sessions in the TREM series, it's anger. That's the topic.
Wow.
And again, what we did with this manual was we took a lot of some of the existing stuff that was out there, kind of tweaked it specific to veterans.
Okay.
Some stuff is original. Some of the sessions that we developed.
Yeah.
In that anger session, one thing that I always used to try to hit home with folks is that, especially for veterans, especially for men, anger, it's a very easy emotion to display.
Wow.
Because not only is it expected in some forms for men, but it's accepted. It's an accepted response from men. Wow.
Yeah. The one thing I want to throw out there is it's a hidden thing. A workaholic. You become a workaholic. You go to work 8 hours. You may have a part-time job. You may have other things you do. You don't spend time with your family.
Yeah.
You don't spend time trying to develop friendships and relationships.
Yeah.
I go to work. I know what my job is. I go to work. I do my 8 hours, whatever. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So what happens with that is you isolate yourself from not just your family and others as well.
Yeah.
Because you become that workaholic. And thinking that you don't need help or not going to get help is not going to break that cycle.
Okay.
So workaholic is one of those hidden things that people don't know. I'm doing okay. I was supposed to get a job. I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and that's where a lot of them go.
Wow.
Because it's easy to do. You can easily work.
Yeah.
It's the physical things you can do.
Yeah.
And get away from it, even if it's playing sports.
Yeah.
Those things. So those are things that kind of hidden that you don't realize that are there.
Right.
Wow.
Anything that becomes such a distraction.
Okay.
Again, just all those examples that Carston brought up.
Yeah.
Where it starts to impact, your daily life.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for that, gentlemen. Tom, tell us about this book.
Sure.
What is the book? What is it about? How can people get it? What is this book here?
So, real quick, it's the Veterans Male Trauma Recovery and Empowerment Model Treatment Manual. And I was asked to be a part of this. Actually, it started right before the pandemic hit. A gentleman who had started working for me went to get trained in this model in Philadelphia, and went to the training. The lady who was doing it was very familiar
Okay.
with the work of Healing Ajax.
Okay.
And she had reached out to me and said that the organization that she works for, which is called Community Connections, they're based down in Washington, D.C.,
Okay.
had been wanting to actually author a treatment manual specifically for veterans.
Nice.
So I saw lady's name is Lori Byer.
Okay.
And she was involved in some of the initial TREM development.
Okay.
The model itself was initially designed to work with women who were survivors of trauma.
Okay.
Found to be very effective over the years. Different specific models have been developed.
Okay.
Adolescents, people with substance abuse disorders, you name it, there's probably a manual that covers it.
Wow.
So we started working on this.
Okay.
And it was something that I found very enjoyable.
Okay.
And it was myself, not only Lori, myself, but another guy named Andrew Hall. Definitely give a shout out to Andrew.
Shout out Andrew.
Yep. He was a graduate of my program.
Okay.
And did very well.
Mhm.
Had a lot of difficulties
Okay.
before coming.
Okay.
But did a complete 180 in his life.
Yeah.
Changed it around. I asked him to come work for me.
Wow.
So it was the three of us that did this. One of my favorite parts about working on this
Mhm.
was educating Lori about veteran culture.
So there's a whole veteran culture.
Yes, and if you don't mind, I'd like to read just a little piece
Sure,
from
absolutely.
the introduction on
Absolutely.
this. And this is actually something that I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Just find it here. Here we are. And I'm not going to read the whole thing.
Okay, that's fine.
The veteran model is an important and needed treatment for those who have served.
Mhm.
Less than 1% of the American population is willing to raise their hand to solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Because of this, veterans can be seen as a subculture that share a unique set of experiences and culture. Regardless of where or when they served, combat or non-combat, branch of service, each of these individuals experienced some form of trauma. Basic training being one of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
The impact of these experiences may result in an increased negative response to them, given that many had experienced trauma prior to the service. The transition from citizen to soldier shapes how people view themselves, their family, and the world. This transition changes all in some form or another, and the person you were before is not coming back.
Wow.
Given this, it would seem needed that the unique needs of this population should be addressed.
Wow. Wow. Just that piece right there. One, it speaks about the veteran culture.
Yeah.
And even the fact that, you know, like you said, less than 1% of people are willing to go ahead and put it all on the line. Wow. That's tremendous right there.
And it is its own culture.
Yeah.
I remember I was home on leave one time, and my next door neighbor, he had just gotten out of the Army. Him and I were talking, and his mom was there, and she's like, "Man, you guys have your own language about stuff." And I think that's just one example.
Wow.
That's just one example.
Wow. Wow. My mom will. So my mom, and I didn't think or see the connecting lines here, but my mom will be driving somewhere and she'll just see somebody with an Army tag. And she's like, "Hoorah!" I'm like, "What are you? What are you doing? It's a tag." Hoorah! Oh man.
That's those Marine guys. Tom and I don't talk.
Yeah. They're a different breed.
They're a different breed.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Love them, but you know.
Yeah. Something else. Yeah.
Wow. So let me ask you this. We have about like 10, 15 more minutes together. What can I want to ask about the resources that's available, but we'll get to that. But before we get there, for someone who's not a veteran, how can we support our veterans? What's something that we can do, some really practical things? And how I'm seeing this is kind of like a spectrum. So for someone who may not have a veteran in their life, there may be like a charity or some type of way. But for somebody who has a veteran in their life, how can we support them?
I got a couple things. Mine is short. I know Tom. Well, talk to them.
Okay.
You know, if you know a veteran, talk to them. The other thing is spend some time listening to them.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
other thing,
absolutely.
ask them to go to local vet centers. They can get some help and support, and they'll learn. That'll bring them out of whatever shells or whatever
Okay.
isolation they put themselves into.
Yeah.
And they can donate to organizations. There are a lot of different organizations that you can donate to that support veterans. So
Wow.
the key thing is talk to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spend some time with them, talk to them, and that way you get to know them.
Yeah.
So they're veterans. So like Tom said, we have our own culture. So I'll talk to them, spend some
Yeah.
time. So I just thought I wanted to throw that out.
Yeah, right.
Excellent.
And I
Thank you.
totally agree. And right along with that, ask them about their experience, but don't
Wow.
push.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Don't push for answers.
Okay.
Ask, but don't push.
Okay. Okay.
They'll let you know what they want you to know.
Okay.
It's interesting. So my last 2.5 years on active duty, I was stationed in Germany, and it was a very tight unit, very tight.
Okay.
And we still have reunions to this day.
Wow.
We have them all over the country every couple years.
Yeah.
And when we first started having them, it was just us,
Yeah.
the guys from the unit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as we all got older and started getting married and having families, we got to the point, maybe we should start bringing the families to this stuff too. But one thing that we do during those reunions is there'll be a point where the families go and do something, and it's just us.
Wow.
Because there's certain things I can only talk to those guys about.
Yeah.
They're the only ones that'll understand.
Yeah.
I think it's real interesting. A good friend of mine I'm very close with lives in upstate New York. I've been out of the Army. I'm not going to tell you how long, but it's been a while. Him and I have seen each other at least once a year, every year since we got out.
Yeah.
That's how tight we are.
Wow.
But he came down to visit me one time, shortly after I'd gotten married. And we started telling some stories. My wife was like, I never heard this stuff before.
Wow.
I was like, well, some of this stuff is so crazy. People will think I'm lying if I
Wow.
tell it without somebody to back me up.
Yeah.
But I think that's, just kind of one of those examples.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Thank you. And it's also important to see that from some of the things that you've all have shared, because it is a close-knit culture, that it may be good for that veteran to connect with another veteran.
Absolutely.
Or to, okay. All right.
Absolutely.
And I think that was one of the most effective aspects of the Healing Ajax program. It was peer-to-peer.
Right.
Yeah.
We all walked in the same boots, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. To your point, to both of your points, and I spoke with Carston about this before the show, probably a couple days ago. For a while, Carston was like, you gotta call your dad. So my biological father, he lived in Alabama, and he passed last year, 2022, December 3rd. And Carston was like, you gotta call your dad, check on him. And I'm like, but he don't really want to talk to me. He doesn't really call me or nothing else like that. He said, but you don't know, he's made from a different era. You don't know his experiences with him being in the Army, etc. So I started calling my dad, right? And he started opening up. He started sharing some things with me. But it wasn't until after he passed that we started going through his paperwork, and we started to see that his because he passed from cancer, but we didn't know how bad it was until after he passed. And there were other things that he was going to get, like emotional support for and things of that nature that we had. I have 3 sisters and 1 brother. Shout out to all of you all and to all my nephews and nieces. But we had no idea that our father was going through all of these things. And it makes me wonder, okay, was he connected to another vet? Did he have that support system? And it goes to kind of like that culture that you all were speaking about, that, like, I'll let you all know up to this point, because even if you saw my father walk, he walked like he was like the biggest dog in the yard. Like he literally walked like did not have no muscles on it, but he walked exactly like this, So thank you all for that. I really appreciate that, for sharing that. And I thank you both for helping even me connect some dots. I really appreciate that. So what are some resources, and also understanding that everybody may be a little strapped for cash, especially with this inflation and whatnot. What are some resources that people can, whether it's a veteran or whether it's a supporter of a veteran, that we can use to help veterans, support however we can?
Yeah. So I am a very big proponent of this place in Philly called the Veterans Multi-Service Center.
Okay.
They're a nonprofit organization, and the best way to describe it, it's a one-stop shop for vets.
Okay.
And it's actually where the Healing Ajax program was born.
Wow.
They have one particular section of the building, they call it the perimeter. And what a perimeter is, for people who don't know the lingo, in the service, a perimeter is a place where you can feel safe.
Okay.
It's secure, it's safe. So they
Okay.
call this place the perimeter. And a lot of what they do there is working with homeless vets.
Okay.
Folks can come in, take a shower, do laundry. They serve lunch and breakfast.
Wow.
They do case management services. They help with benefits. You name it, they do it. Help with benefits claims.
Wow.
I went there myself
Okay.
before I even started doing
Yeah.
professional work with
Yeah.
vets, because I was going to buy a house. I didn't know how to access, my housing benefit.
Yeah.
So somebody I knew from the VA said, "Go to this place.
Hmm.
Great people."
Yeah.
But that's a very great resource.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. There are satellites of smaller vet programs
Yeah.
Okay.
that you can go to. And
Okay.
part of this is the reason for that is because of trust thing. Most vets have a trust thing.
Okay.
So you can go to the community center that Tom was talking about, but there are also other smaller satellites. You can
Mhm.
go to those, and that way you get more one-on-one or more see other guys that you feel more comfortable working with.
Okay.
So you can do that. You can also, if you don't know anything, you don't know where you're going, you can go to the VA hospital.
Yep.
Okay.
You can go to the VA hospital and you can ask for the benefits department or
Okay.
whatever department you're looking for. They'll help you. I get services there.
Yeah.
You can, they'll help you with it, whatever you need help with.
Okay.
You just gotta go there and ask for help.
Excellent.
There's the Veterans Administration Center. I think it's on Wissahickon Avenue.
Yep.
They
Okay.
can go there. They can get whatever help they
Yeah,
need.
they have a lot of
Same
veteran
thing.
service officers
Right,
there that a lot of
right,
folks out.
right.
Oh, excellent.
Right.
Excellent.
So they'll direct you to different places. And I was just talking to my nephew. He lost his dad, it was my brother, a while back.
I'm sorry.
And I directed him to go to the VA hospital, go to those places and get help. So even if you have someone, and of course my brother wasn't good with keeping records and all those
Mhm,
things. So
mhm.
no one had service numbers, and if you don't have a service number or DD 214, you're sort of out there. So
Okay.
go to those places. They can help you navigate through the system. Because
Okay.
a lot of people get a little frustrated because they go somewhere and can't get the help
Yeah.
they want. But
Yeah.
they'll help you navigate through what you need to go through. They'll call me. I'm like, yeah, I'm just a veteran. So go to those places, get this help, get that help. They'll help you navigate. You can call me and ask me questions, but I'm just going to redirect you
Yeah.
back through those particular systems. So that's where it's at.
Excellent. 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 Thank you. So we're nearing our time. If there was, I'm going to ask you this, and then I'm going to ask for your social media handles or any information that you may want to share for people to get in touch with you to share resources, for you to share resources. If there was a veteran right now who's watching the show, maybe struggling, maybe not, but if there was a veteran right now watching the show, what advice would you give to him or her right now?
Reach out.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Yeah, you got to reach out, and you can go to those agencies that Tom mentioned or the ones that I mentioned, and they'll certainly direct you through what you need to go through. But you can get a lot of information from social media now. If you Google VA News, they'll take you through some things. But I do want to warn people to be careful here because there are a lot of people are not always supportive of veterans. That's the best thing for me to say.
Okay.
Because this Camp Lejeune thing, and they're calling people and kind of taking advantage of some of the veterans who don't know.
Okay.
So they really need to be careful of that. So I would go to VA organization, make sure it's a credible VA organization that they go to.
Okay.
And they can get the help. But the whole social media thing, and almost all the guys have a cell phone. They may not know how to work them, but they all have a cell phone, and they can Google VA News, VA benefits, those things. You can also get information from that.
Excellent.
And that's probably the best places to go if they don't feel comfortable, because a lot of it is about comfort and trust. And if you don't have the comfort, or you don't have the trust, or you don't have the people to do that, then go out there and get the help from those people. But Google the stuff and find out where to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a lot of hotlines through the VA and through other organizations where it can be anonymous.
Right.
Yeah.
And you ain't got to worry about telling your whole story and all that.
Right.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you both for that. So this is what we'll do. Can you share um, how people can reach you, or where they can get your book,
Mhm.
and also where people can get this book? And then after you do that,
Mhm.
Carston, Phil, can you close us out with another piece from your book?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll let Tom go first because he talked.
So with regard to getting in contact with me,
hmm
if you go to Resources for Human Development's main website,
hmm
you'll see my contact information there.
Excellent.
I don't do socials,
Yeah.
so I stay away from them.
Okay.
But that's the best way. And even though I'm no longer involved with the Healing Ajax program,
hmm
I still frequently have a lot of people reaching out to me
Okay.
about veterans issues,
Yeah.
benefits, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I've got different ways to direct folks to help them out.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Thank you.
You can reach me through my name is Carston Warner at gmail.com. You can get my book. It's called Traveling Through Time. And of course, I have my name at the bottom. And you can get it at Amazon or Barnes and Noble. And I do want to say this is a journey. It's a journey from in writing this book. It's a journey.
Yes, sir.
It's a journey from the deep South, growing up in the South, with civil rights movement, through all those things. Malcolm and Martin got a little bit of all of those things in this book, and philosophical stuff.
Yeah.
So you can, if you can send me an email if you want, and I'll respond.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is it okay if I move on and close it out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. The other thing I want to say about veterans is, I don't know how much time I have. I'll try to get it all out. There's a humorous moment that we'll have with you if you decide to engage us in the conversation. There's a humorous moment we'll have. Then there's a serious moment.
Okay.
So you got to get past the humor stuff because we make light of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to talk about the deep stuff.
Gotcha.
So if a veteran is telling you humorous stuff, then you listen to those things.
Okay.
And then they'll get to the other part when they feel comfortable with it. This whole thing I'm checking out to see if I trust you.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I'm telling you about this, because this is one of those humorous things. This is a poem thing.
All right.
It's called Company Man. This is a humorous thing.
Yes, sir.
So I'm thinking these things, but I'm thinking about somebody. But if you have a job, then you know what a company man is. Okay? Company man. I'm there early to set the clock, late in the evenings to close and lock. I keep subordinates in their place with lies, half-truth, and sometimes mace. I keep my brethren working hard in the field with false hope, promises of promotions, and pretentious goodwill. I can speak the language of Shakespeare, to brag or boast. To be or not to be, there's no doubt. At 5 p.m., I'm punching you out. I'll snitch to the big boss. If you come in early quit, or come in late, take credit for your hard work if you stay past 8. There are no illusions about my status quo. I'll keep treating you bad. You'll keep asking for more. I'll keep you bending until you break. I'll feed you pork chop. You'll think it's steak. I'll make you cry, weep, moan. You beg for more work, and I'll send you home. Don't hallucinate about me, my brother. Tick me off, I'll call your significant other. I'll let them know how you procrastinate and took the secretary out on a date. Don't fool with me, everyone know. Just before the holiday, I'll let you go. If you have any doubt about my position, I have a keen insight and a good intuition. I learned early not to raise hell. You catch a case, get handcuffed, shackled, end up in jail. Never caught a case, prayed in mosques, synagogues, cathedrals, churches. Began my career at an early age. Worked in the deep South, Southern White House. They call me Page. There's no doubt I am a politician. It is my job to keep you in your position. I know you feel as if I'm a louse. Remember, I'm a company man, not your spouse.
Nice.
I'm gonna call your spouse. I know that's right. Gentlemen, Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Tommy.
for
This is
being
great.
Tommy, we
here,
appreciate it, man.
for sharing your stories, for the transparency. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We will be right back with the Tommy Talk Show closing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's the whole episode of the Tommy Talk Show, where we are honoring and supporting our veterans. Can't talk. We had Tom Wagner and Carston Warner who shared some awesome insight, perspective, and resources. Listen, don't forget that the Tommy Talk Show is a part of P3 Christian Radio. Our shows are edited by the one, engineered and edited by Keith Pelzer at the Combos Lounge, and we are affiliated with the Culture Talk Show. And if you have any questions or want to get a hold of us, you can check us out at www.twsuggs.com. Talk to you all later. Peace.